Hey everybody, it's Chris, and today I want to talk about the new Monster Manual, and specifically, I'm going to talk about initiative and what to expect with the monsters with their initiative scores, because this is, in my opinion, one of the most dramatic, if not the most dramatic change from the 2014 rules. People have been talking a lot about how a lot of things that used to provide saving throws don't provide saving throws anymore, and that's pretty dramatic too. I don't want to discount that, but the changes to initiatives, I do think, are going to make a massive difference on gameplay. And I started to notice this when, before the Monster Manual came out, they started to do little sneak peeks. They were doing videos where they would show a stat block, or D&D Beyond would show off a stat block, or there were a number of YouTube channels that showed off stat blocks as well. And I particularly noticed the Dungeon Dudes did a stat block reveal for the new Animal Lord, which had a plus 19 initiative modifier. We've never seen a plus 19 initiative modifier for a monster before. And then Colby with D4 Deep Dive showed off the new Empyrean, also plus 19 initiative modifier. Now, in the old version, it was just their dexterity modifier. So here is the Empyrean from 2014, and their initiative modifier is plus 5. And here it is from 2024, and you can see plus 19. I also want to point out that there's an additional number here. So if we look right here, we're going to see that in parentheses, it has a 29. Now, this is based off an optional rule. So I'm going to bring that up. That's in the player's handbook. So this is in the rules glossary of the 2024 player's handbook. And I think we know what initiative is, but what I'm going to specifically say that here we have a second paragraph, and this is an optional rule. It says sometimes a DM might have combatants use their initiative scores instead of rolling initiative. Your initiative score equals 10 plus your dexterity modifier. If you have advantage on initiative rolls, increase your initiative score by 5. If you have disadvantage on these rolls, decrease that score by 5. Also see Chapter 1 Combat. So that 29 is their initiative score. Plus 19 initiative modifier, plus 10 is 29. So if your DM was to use the optional rule for the Empyrean, then that means that their initiative score would be 29. And if you had a character that had a 20 dexterity and no other modifiers to initiative, and you rolled your d20 for initiative and you rolled a nat 20, you get a 25, and you would lose initiative. So even if you had a maxed out dexterity and you rolled the best possible result, you still couldn't beat an Empyrean. Now, that doesn't mean there's no way to beat the Empyrean, because there are other ways we can modify initiative, like the alert feat. But nevertheless, even if we have the alert feat, not easy. And so, you start to think that maybe this Empyrean will have some minions, and we might be able to beat the minions on initiative, but we're probably not going to beat this Empyrean. And initiative is important. If you think about it, imagine that you're in a combat, and in that combat, there's going to be 4 rounds. Okay, so not an exceptional combat, 4 rounds of combat. If we win initiative, the enemy is going to do nasty stuff to us 3 times. If we lose initiative, that enemy is going to do nasty stuff to us 4 times. That's a big difference. And that doesn't even take into account the various tactical benefits of going first. If this Empyrean is in combat with us and we go first, we might be able to do something to prevent the Empyrean from doing these very strong attacks and spells at us that we wouldn't be able to do if we didn't win initiative. So initiative is just exceptionally important, meaning that giving an Empyrean a plus 19 initiative modifier instead of a plus 5 is a massive boost to the power of this creature. Now, going through the Monster Manual, it looks like some creatures just use their dexterity modifier for initiative, as has always been the case. Some add their proficiency bonus plus their dexterity modifier. And some, like this Empyrean, add their proficiency bonus twice plus their dexterity modifier. And the Empyrean is pretty close to the highest initiative I've found in the new Monster Manual. One I did find a little bit higher is the Solar. So here is the Solar. It has an initiative of plus 20. Which is twice its proficiency bonus plus its dexterity modifier of plus 6. If anyone else has found a dexterity or an initiative modifier higher than that, let me know in the comments, but that's the highest one that I found. And so if we think about it, if the DM was to use a 30, then we would need to get a 30 just to tie this Solar for initiative, and that is not going to be easy to do. In fact, when I was watching Colby's video on the Empyrean, and he went over the plus 19 initiative, I thought somebody has commented on this in the video. So I started going through the comments on his video, and I noticed a few comments about the initiative. One comment that I particularly recall that kind of inspired this video is they said, I guess that means we're just never going to win initiative anymore. And that's an interesting point. Is that true? I want to take a closer look at that. And I should mention before I move on that when it comes to which creatures get their proficiency bonus added or their proficiency bonus added twice, it does appear that the higher challenge rating they are, the more likely that will happen. The higher they are, the more likely it's added twice. But I haven't really found a rhyme nor reason to which creatures are going to get it at all, or once, or twice. It just seems to be maybe the creatures they thought needed the biggest boosts got the double proficiency bonus, and then, the ones they thought were fine maybe didn't get the proficiency bonus added, but there didn't seem to be any kind of rules or patterns beyond higher challenge rating made it more likely that I could find. So if I am fighting this Empyrean, can I ever hope to beat it? And so that got me thinking, how much can we do to boost initiative realistically? And by the level where we might be fighting a challenge rating 23 creature, what are my odds going to be that I might beat this thing in initiative? So I was just thinking, the most obvious thing is to make a dexterity-based character. You got a +5 dexterity, you got a +5 to your initiative. That's not enough. With a +5 initiative and no other benefits, we cannot beat this creature. Now we could be something like an assassin or a champion, and then we would get advantage on initiative. That's still not enough because we still can't roll higher than a 20 even if we have advantage. Things like lucky can give you advantage. That also isn't going to help you beat a 29 if you cannot beat a 29. Heroic inspiration isn't going to help you. Re-rolling the d20 isn't going to help when a 20 doesn't win. Now, most obviously, we have the alert feat, which is an origin feat, and I do think it is one of the best feats in the game. And it says when you roll initiative, you can add your proficiency bonus to the roll. So eventually, this gives us a +6 to initiative. So if we think about it, if we have a dexterity of +5 and alert, and we're a high enough level, that's +11. So if we rolled a 19 or a 20, we would win initiative. But probably not rolling a 19 or 20, but at least there's a chance. But there are a number of other ways we can boost our initiative score. If we are a level 6 Fiend Pact Warlock, for example, we could use Dark One's Own Luck, which says you can call on your fiendish patron to alter fate in your favor when you make an ability check or a saving throw, and initiative is an ability check. It's a dexterity ability check, so we can use it. You can use this feature to add a d10 to your roll. You can do so after seeing the roll, but before any of the roll's effects occur. So presumably, you can roll your initiative and then determine if you want to use your Dark One's Own Luck afterwards. So if we roll that 19 or 20, then maybe we don't need the Dark One's Own Luck. But if we don't, then maybe the Dark One's Own Luck is what we need to beat that Empyrean or whatever it is. You can use this feature a number of times equal to your Charisma modifier. If I am playing a Warlock, I probably have a +5 Charisma modifier. On the other hand, I probably don't have a +5 Dexterity modifier, do I? So it might be harder. Nevertheless, this is a way we can increase our initiative score. If we're a wild magic sorcerer, there's actually a couple different things we can do. First off, at level 3, we could use Tides of Chaos. You manipulate chaos itself to give yourself advantage on one d20 test before you roll the d20. So we could use this on our initiative. And frankly, if you're a wild magic sorcerer, I think this is a great time to use your Tides of Chaos. Now, as I said before, advantage isn't necessarily going to help us achieve that threshold if that threshold is impossible to meet. But at level 6, we have Bend Luck. You have the ability to twist fate using your wild magic. Immediately after another creature you can see rolls a d20 for a d20 test, you can take a reaction and spend one sorcery point to roll a d4 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or penalty, your choice, to the d20 roll. Now, you can't apply it to yourself. It has to be another creature you can see. You can, however, apply it to the enemy and give them a penalty of a d4. So that 29 would be a 29 minus a d4. Now that's assuming the creature is rolling. If the DM is using the static score, maybe that doesn't count as a d20 rolled. That's really going to be up to them. What you can definitely do is apply it to an ally who's trying to beat that same creature on initiative. One subclass that just gets a straight out bonus to initiative is the Gloomstalker Ranger. It says initiative bonus. When you roll initiative, you can add your wisdom modifier to the roll. Speaking of which, if we go into the older rules, there's other classes that get these kinds of benefits as well. The Swashbuckler comes to mind. That adds its charisma to its initiative. Here's another one that is reasonably obvious. If you are a fighter and a battle master, you can take the ambush maneuver. I have been recommending this maneuver ever since it was published, and I absolutely recommend it in the 2024 rules as well. When you make a dexterity stealth check or an initiative roll, you can expend one superiority die and add the die to the roll unless you have the incapacitated condition. Now, that's going to be a D8 when you first get the feature, but eventually it can become a D12. Now, bards used to be able to use their bardic inspiration to add to initiative. That is no longer the case in the 2024 rules. So in the 2014 rules, you could use bardic inspiration and you could basically add it to any ability check, saving throw, or attack roll you wanted to. Not anymore. Now it says once within the next hour when a creature fails a d20 test, they can roll the bardic inspiration die and add the number rolled to the d20. The thing about initiative is you can win initiative, you can lose initiative, but you never fail initiative. You always have an initiative score. So there's no pass or fail mechanic, so we can't use bardic inspiration. But a bard can be a huge help for initiative if you are a dance bard. At level 6, the dance bard gets tandem footwork. When you roll initiative, you can expend one use of your bardic inspiration if you don't have the incapacitated condition. When you do so, roll your bardic inspiration die. You and each ally within 30 feet of you who can see or hear you gains a bonus to initiative equal to the number rolled. And at level 6, your bardic inspiration die will be a d8, but at higher levels it will eventually be a d12. And this doesn't just add to your own initiative, this will add to everybody's initiative as long as they're within 30 feet of you. And the more I look at this, and the more I look at the various ways we could really focus on initiative, I think we could probably make an entire party that could beat the Empyrean on initiative most of the time. But even if the rest of the party isn't focused on initiative, I think we can still beat it most of the time. I wrote myself a few notes here. It says, let's assume we're a 2-weapon fighting human battle master fighter. We have taken Alert and Lucky as origin feats, we've raised our dexterity to 20, and we've selected the ambush maneuver. We face an Empyrean that has an initiative of 29. What is our chance to win initiative? So what can we apply? Well, Lucky can give us advantage on the roll. Ambush will give us a plus d12 on the roll. We'll assume a 6. It should average actually a little over 6, but we'll say 6. Then Alert giving us a plus 6. We'll assume we're high enough level to get a plus 6. And then Dexterity plus 5. That's plus 17 with advantage. So what is the chance for plus 17 with advantage to beat a 29? First, we should look at Chapter 1 in the Player's Handbook where it tells us how to handle ties, because maybe we score a 29. And it says under Initiative, under Ties, if a tie occurs, the DM decides the order among tied monsters, the players decide the order among tied characters, and the DM decides the order if the tie is between a monster and a player character, which means if we roll a 29, maybe we win and maybe we lose, and that is completely up to the DM. They can just choose. So if I want to figure out the chance of winning with plus 17 with advantage, I have to also take into account ties. So just to show you how the math works, I've made up this chart. And if you look across the top of the chart, you can see we have numbers going from 1 through 20. And if we look along the left-hand side of the chart, we will see we have numbers rolling from 1 to 20. And those would represent the 2 d20s we roll if we have advantage. So across the top is 1 d20, across the left is the other d20, and then we can cross-section them to see if we would win or lose initiative. In other words, if we roll a 1 and another 1, then we, L, lose initiative. L is lose. If we roll a 13 on either of the dice, and then either a 13 or lower on the other die, we will tie, and that's the yellow T's. And any of the green W's means we would win initiative. So with a 13, maybe we win up to the DM. With a 14, we definitely win. Now, just looking at this chart, you should be able to see it looks like we have more W's than L's. But if we add them all up, we have 400 possible results. 144 of them are losses, 25 of them are ties, and 231 of them are wins. And so if we assume that ties are wins, so our DM is going to give us the tie, then we have a 64% chance of winning initiative. If we assume the ties are losses, so the DM is going to give that Empyrean the advantage if we tie, then we still have a 58% chance of winning. If we use our heroic advantage to re-roll, we have a 40% chance to win if we win ties, or 35% if we don't, with the re-roll. So if we add in the possibility of re-rolling if we lose, then if we're going to win ties, we have a 78% chance to win. And if we lose ties, we have a 73% chance to win. Now, I wasn't going to go through all my old resources to see what I could find to give initiative, but here are some things that I remembered that if you're using the old rules could help your initiative. The Watcher's Paladin provides its proficiency bonus as a bonus to initiative. I said it does not stack with alert, but provides the same bonus. And I should specify there, it wouldn't stack with alert for the paladin themselves, because you can only add your proficiency bonus once. However, if you aren't the Watcher's Paladin, but you are in their aura, then you can add your own proficiency bonus and somebody else's proficiency bonus. There's no rule against that, so it would stack with alert for other characters, but not for the Watcher's Paladin themselves. Then there's the Heron, which adds its proficiency bonus to initiative, which also would not stack with alert, but it would provide the same bonus. If we were a War Magic or Chronergy Wizard, we would add our intelligence to initiative. If we were a Swashbuckler Rogue, we would add our charisma bonus. There is the Gift of Alacrity spell. It's a Dunamancy spell, adds a d8 to your initiative. The Artificer Flash of Genius can be used to add the Artificer's intelligence modifier to initiative. That said, I double-checked the playtest version of the Artificer, and they put that pass-fail metric in there, which means we would not be able to use Flash of Genius to add to initiative if we're using the playtest version, and I'm guessing probably the next official version of the Artificer. So this is probably a bonus to initiative that you could get with Artificers now, but I wouldn't necessarily expect that to remain. So can we beat the big monsters on initiative? Yes, we can, but it's not going to be easy. I think if you don't think about your initiative, you will get to the point where the high challenge rating monsters are going to beat you on initiative. And I assume that's got to be intentional by the designers so that the big bad monsters at least get a turn. I have definitely seen many cases where the big bad monster is completely taken out of the fight before their turn comes up. So maybe it's not such a bad thing. But if you really want to focus on initiative, you can beat them. And if your whole party focuses on initiative, so you get things like a Dance Bard, and if it's available, the Watcher's Paladin, and everyone's taking the alert feat, I think you can have most of the party beat them. And in my next video, I will give one example of a character that should win reliably for initiative against most creatures, but when they face these super high challenge rating creatures, they'll still have a shot. So that will be my next video. This one wasn't too long, but I just want to say I'm going to sit back, relax, and have some fun. D&D is for everyone. Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon.